This podcast is brought to you by the Maryland State Library Agency. The MSLA podcast features presenters from statewide youth programs, as well as learning opportunities for library staff and resources for patrons of the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled.
Hello, and welcome to the MSLA Guest Hour. I'm Communications Manager Tim Pratt, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by MSLA Youth Services Coordinator Carrie Sanders. Carrie has served in this capacity since 2016 and leads a number of programs, initiatives, and training opportunities focusing on youth services for librarians and library staff across the state. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, Tim. Happy to be here. Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, specifically your professional background and how you ended up at the Maryland State Library Agency?
Yeah, definitely. So I was one of those kids that just always loved to read and got really excited when she could go to the library and pick out her big stack of books and choose those and take them home. So I've just always been a library kid. And I can remember asking my mom in the car once, like, I just want to grow up and just work in libraries. She's like, well, yeah, you can do that. There's a career for that. So I really never looked back. My first job was as a page in the children's department of my hometown library in Columbus, Indiana. And then I went on and received my master's in library science at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and really have spent my entire career in schools or public library setting, working with youth and children. Also did a couple years as an instructional coach in a school setting, and I really enjoyed working with staff too and working with training. So this position has been kind of a nice mix of all of my previous work experience. I don't work directly with children anymore, which I miss, but I love working with staff who I know are working directly with families and children. So had a slight career change, or not career change, but just moved to the East Coast in 2016. And that's when I took this position at the Maryland State Library Agency as the Youth Service Coordinator.
So what are some of your roles and responsibilities at MSLA, whether specific programs or initiatives? Can you kind of fill people in on what you do?
Yeah, well, even before really delving into the youth services aspect, I think it's important to kind of help explain that state library agencies support all the public libraries in their state. And in that role, we really work with the different public libraries and provide grant opportunities and funding opportunities and resources and training just to be there for all the staff and the directors in those public libraries. I never was always clear what a state library did, so I think it's maybe helpful to just kind of give a little bit of background about what we all do in the Maryland State Library Agency, but then specifically in regards to youth, each Maryland library system has a primary person in their library system who is responsible for coordinating their youth programs and services that occur in all their branches. And I work very closely with that lead person in each county, in each library system, really getting to know them and their library, helping learn about their communities, because that really informs me thinking across the state who's really working and has certain specific needs in regards to youth services. So I provide information and resources to them on statewide programs such as summer reading programs, services around STEM, school age support, and then I really try to fine tune and provide training and project opportunities that really hone in on topics and trends of library youth services, which can include early literacy, media literacy to kind of help youth and families navigate the world of technology, school age programming, and teen services. So it's kind of the gamut of youth from early, like 0 to toddlers, all the way through high school graduation and teen services, how we can support those age groups in our public library programs and services.
Gotcha. And you kind of touched on it, but as youth services coordinator, what are some of your priorities and why are those priorities important?
Yeah, I think more and more public libraries are really being looked at as the anchor or hub of their community. I always looked at the school library when I was in that environment, the school library as the learning hub of the school where all students could come to explore their interests and learn new things in an environment that was warm and welcoming and non-judgmental. And I really believe that public libraries fill that same role for all in our communities, that we are free, judgment free, safe space for everyone to kind of explore their own interests and achieve their own personal potential, but it also lets our families and youth and community members meet and engage with each other. Um, I just really think that's important to promote what our role can be in the communities overall. Specifically, I love in regards to youth services, the public libraries with their collections and story times and intentional outreach really is pivotally. We're so positioned in our communities to help all children, no matter their backgrounds, their resources, really begin to build a strong foundation for early learning and school readiness and healthy family engagement. We love to have families engage with one another and then with other families as well. So I feel like our priorities are really to get kids off on a great start, help families and support them and help them connect with one another. Also help them connect with other resources in their community, whether it's the school or those in our family that can help maybe with childcare or other social resources that the family needs. The library can be a really great connector in that way as well.
That's a great segue into summer library programs.
Oh, yeah.
We're in the dog days of summer now, but these summer library programs are in full swing. So, can you talk a little bit about this year's theme?
Yes, absolutely. Our summer library theme for 2024 is Adventure Begins at Your Library. It's been a very popular theme. Our libraries are finding so many ways to provide opportunities for new learning and discovery for youth and families. That's through local partnerships, some exciting performers that they're bringing in to do really unique programming throughout the summer and activities that are part of their kind of their more structured or official summer library programs.
And for those who are not familiar, how is the theme for summer library programs established each year?
Yeah, it's a little complicated, but it really kind of goes back to Maryland is a state member of an organization called the Collaborative Summer Library Program, or CSLP. And CSLP provides activities, graphics, program ideas, and many incentive materials such as bookmarks, t shirts, pencils, all those things to support summer programs in libraries across the country. And their guiding principle is that librarians are sharing ideas, expertise, and cost to produce a high quality summer reading program for children, teens, and adults. So there is a CSLP slogan and theme committee comprised of public library and state library agency staff from across the country. And they gather ideas from all the public libraries to support the upcoming year's themes to try to determine the slogan for those themes. And these suggestions all get whittled down to a final batch through those survey responses, and then they're vetted for copyright, things to think about, translation, how will it translate into Spanish? Because we make sure that that is a possibility for our slogan each year. And then member states of CSLP hold an annual meeting each year, which is coming up at the end of August, where the state reps do final votes that are submitted for the upcoming year's themes and slogans. And CSLP is always working 2 or 3 years ahead because they have to, once they get that theme and slogan determined, then that rolls into the artwork and that rolls into all the other materials that are created. So it's kind of a process. It's always fun to see what the upcoming themes will be, and then we begin to hone that theme and come up with the slogan.
And people may notice we're not referring to these programs as summer reading, as they may be more familiar with, but instead summer library programs. Can you talk a little bit about that distinction?
Yes, yes. So traditionally over the years, and I can remember as a kid, and it's still in many places, public libraries have usually called their summer programs summer reading programs, as they were primarily developed to encourage reading during the summer, and that's still true. Maintaining and strengthening reading skills and exploring new authors and genres and topics of interest through books and reading are still a key goal of our summer programs. And many libraries in Maryland love to emphasize that by calling their programs either a summer reading challenge or summer reading adventure, or they just call it their summer reading program. And that's all good. But more and more in recent years, libraries are including other activities besides reading into their programs that encourage learning and exploring about nature, science, music, creative arts, all different ways to connect with family and friends. So, while I guess at this point, I think it's safe to say that all Maryland libraries do include a variety of activities for fun and learning in the summer. They just kind of make it their own choice whether they're going to call it a summer library quest or a challenge, or and so what has seemed easiest for us at the state level, since the collaborative summer library program is our overarching kind of group that we are a part of, to just kind of keep it all very simple and collectively call the Maryland summer programs summer library programs, and that can mean all kinds of activities.
Gotcha. And why is it important for young people to participate in these programs?
Well, we know summer without the schedule and the structure of the school calendar is such an opportune time to catch up on things like read that book that's been on your list for a long time and you haven't gotten to it, or to explore a new interest, or spend extra time with family. All those are great things about the summer. And summer library programs provide so many ways for youth and families to do all of those things in whatever way works for them, along with whatever else might be going on in their summer activities and their months of summer. So many public libraries offer families the chance to track their summer reading and the other activities that could be a part of that summer library program. They can either track on a paper game board, if they prefer to do that kind of tactile, kind of analog tracking, or they can also use an online program. Some library systems in Maryland use Beanstack, some use something called Read Squared, and those are online. So families can track their reading and their activities either in a phone app, or they can go online and do that. And some families do a little bit of both. It's just really nice. Summer library programs allow youth and families to be enriched and engaged with topics that are of interest. These programs also often encourage exploration of other community resources as well, which I love. Yeah, so free summer library programs offer a chance for learning for all youth, all ages. And it's especially nice that we can provide these opportunities for those who are unable to experience camp or lessons or other enrichment activities, either due to cost or some other barrier that prohibits them from being a part of those other options that some have access to and some don't. Library outreach services also through mobile vehicles or bookmobiles or programs in the community help libraries reach youth and families who are unable to reach their local branch or don't know about their local library. And so we really make an effort to get out of our buildings also and find families and youth where they are.
Very good. And you've got a background in schools. I'm curious if you personally, or whether it was in your past life or currently at MSLA, have seen the impacts of these summer programs. I mean, have there been any studies, or is there any data to show the impact or the effectiveness of these programs?
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking behind that. Uh, there's a lot of talk about what we've maybe all heard of as summer slide, which is when children, especially those from low income families, may lose some of their learning achievement from the previous school year due to the extended summer break when they're not reading or engaged in more structured learning activities. And while there have been attempts at studies to show the impact of summer reading programs in libraries, this type of study has been really difficult to implement and really gauge in a public library setting because we don't have the consistent attendance like a school does. We don't have the same students every day at the same time. So they just can't really be measured as they can be in a school classroom setting to gauge progress. However, many surveys have been conducted of parents and library staff who speak about the perceived effectiveness of summer library programs and personal feedback, and it has been extremely powerful. Parents report how much their children enjoyed the chance to choose what they read, how long they read, the types of books that they read. Children who had not been readers before found a series or an author that they loved and they became hooked and they were so excited for the next book or the next trip to the library. Children enjoyed STEM topics in science and technology and engineering and math, which may seem hard or intimidating in a school setting with grades and time constraints, but they've loved that when they've been in maker spaces and can just explore and tinker on their own. Children became interested in the arts that they may not have exposure to otherwise, but they get to explore music and different instruments and art through different programs at the library. So, all this qualitative data speaks greatly about the impact of summer library programs for youth. And I know that our staff is just thrilled to be able to offer these opportunities for children of all ages with whatever backgrounds they're bringing.
And if people want to find a summer library program near them, how would you recommend they go about doing that?
I would recommend our website at the Maryland State Library Agency, marylandlibraries.org, and that's all run together and it's plural. So Maryland Libraries, libraries.org, would be really the quickest, easiest place. You go right to that homepage and it will give you a place to locate your local library. I'll also say that I think almost every Maryland Public Library System has its own Facebook page. So if anyone's on Facebook, they can search that way. So those would be my first two real recommendations to help folks locate their local library.
Thanks. That's very helpful. And kind of transitioning, it wouldn't be summer in Maryland without the state fair. Can you talk a little bit about the Maryland State Library Summer Reading Award ceremony coming up in August?
I would love to. As part of our summer library programs, we do partner, we have a statewide partnership with the Maryland State Fair, and Maryland libraries have the opportunity to select a special reader to participate in the Maryland Reading Ceremony. We're very grateful to have this partnership with the Maryland State Fair, and this will be our third year that they are hosting this reading ceremony on August 24th. And each special reader comes with their families, and they are acknowledged with a special grand winner fair ribbon and a fair pin and a free ice cream coupon. And they're acknowledged at the Cow Palace. And then they get to have their picture taken, a big group picture. And it's just a great time for them to get to enjoy the fair. We've heard that many of these families, they've never been to the fair before, so they get to be acknowledged for their reading as well as enjoy the fair experience. And additionally, as part of our summer partnership, the fair has donated over 200 family four packs to libraries across the state to be won as incentives as part of the summer programs. They also donated, I think, 10,000 fair ribbon bookmarks to be distributed out to the libraries. So it's just been a really nice partnership. And the reading ceremony is just a great way to showcase our youth from around the state. They can be first grade, they can be teenagers, selected however the public library system chooses to, but to be acknowledged for their reading during the summer.
That's fantastic. And speaking of the state fair, can you talk a little bit about Barnyard Bedtime Tales? A little bit about the program, and I understand it won an award last year. Can you kind of
Yeah,
fill us in
yeah.
on that?
Yeah, it did. As when we were starting this partnership with the fair, we were just brainstorming, like, could we do some kind of a special reading program to encourage reading with the kids as they come with their families? So we decided to create something where children could read to the animals, and it's similar in some public libraries. They have a program that where different groups bring in dogs, and you can kind of have time for children. They do this in schools too. It's very welcoming. Children don't feel pressured to read to an animal. They're relaxed, and it's great practice for them to read. And of course, there's unconditional love from the dog or the animal that's being read to. So we decided to try something at the fair. And so every Saturday evening that the fair is in operation from 7 to 8, children can come to the You Learn Barn, which is near the Cow Palace, and select a book. They can bring their own book, or they can select one that is there in a basket. Baltimore County Public Library provides very carefully selected books about agriculture and farming and animals. And the children can choose a book and go have a seat next to one of the spots where the pigs or the cows or the sheep are getting ready to go to sleep for the night, and they just can sit and read. And it's been very, very successful. Actually, the fair earned first place in Division Champion Award in the agriculture program exhibit category for Barnyard Bedtime Tales last year. And that was given to them through the International Association of Fairs and Expositions. So we were thrilled to be able to offer such a fun program for youth and families. The first 25 children who came every Saturday night actually received a free book to take home. And every child who read got a little sticker that said, I read to the animals at the Maryland State Fair. So, and we're excited to offer that again this year.
That's fantastic. And how does a program like Barnyard Bedtime Tales help young readers?
They completely get to choose the book again. It's all about choice. Children love to be able to choose what they want to read, so they get to select the book. It gives them that confidence. They no one's there to, the animals are not going to say, "Oops, you didn't get that word correct, or you skipped a word, or you skipped a page." It's completely non-judgmental, very encouraging and welcoming, safe environment. For them to be able to get that experience and practice of reading. And I know we heard that there were several repeat children that came back each Saturday night of the fair to read again. We actually also heard that there were some adults at different developmental levels and stages that also enjoyed reading to the animals during this activity. So it's fun for everyone. Everyone enjoys it, and lots of smiles on some of the photos that I saw back from Barnyard Bedtime Tales.
Yeah, they were fantastic photos. And if people want to learn more about how to participate, should they go to their local library systems, websites, or how would they learn more and how to
Yeah, actually, absolutely. There is a flyer that has been created to support Barnyard Bedtime Tales, and every library has received that flyer to help disseminate out to their families. So all youth service staff at all the public libraries in Maryland should be able to provide that flyer and have information. Um, it's just pretty easy, though. It's every Saturday night of the fair from 7 to 8 in the You Learn Barn. And if folks want to go find the exact dates, what that would be, those Saturday nights at the fair, location of the fairgrounds, anything about actual Maryland State grounds and logistics, they can go to the MarylandStateFair.com website.
very good. And we've talked about young readers generally, but there's also an official young readers program that provides free books to children throughout the state. What can you tell me about the program and the partnership with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library?
Yeah, the Young Readers Program was the Baltimore City affiliate of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and that was funded by the state for children in Baltimore City 0 to 5. And what the Dolly Parton Imagination Library Program provides is a free book for every child each month from birth until they turn 5 to encourage a love of reading, learning, and to prepare them for school. Wonderful, wonderful program. And this is statewide, or nationwide, the Dolly Parton program. And then last year, I'll say also, just not only does it encourage reading, but the receipt of these books in the home also helps build a home library for children and a print-rich environment, which also encourages reading and learning. And then in 2023, the Young Readers Program that existed here in Maryland for Baltimore City was the Expansion Act was passed, which created a new grants program and to be administered by the Maryland State Library Agency. And that expanded the distribution of books beyond Baltimore City to over 39,000 additional children in Maryland under the age of 5 still. And there are now 16 public library systems and affiliate organizations receiving state funds to support reading and early literacy skill development at home. And there's also a match program involved, but it's just really exciting. We love that we are able to be a part of this expansion and help reach children across the state to receive these books and get them off on a great start each month to receive that book to build their home library and have that reading experience to prepare them for kindergarten.
Great. And we've talked a lot about the benefits of reading for children in that age range, but another program that you oversee is the Hatchlings program. And from what I understand, that's not just benefiting young children, but parents and soon-to-be parents. Can you talk a little bit about the Hatchlings program and the history of it and the goals of the program?
Yeah, thanks for asking about Hatchlings. Hatchlings was an idea that I've had. It's never too early to begin reading and singing and talking with babies. their brains are developing. Those first 3 years are when the neurons are all firing and they're making connections and the formation of language is happening, and so much is happening in this engagement with babies. And I always thought, what if we even started earlier? Because I know how overwhelmed young newborn families and parents can be when they bring home the newborn and they're trying to adjust to no sleep and care of an infant. So I thought, those daily habits of literacy are not going to be so easy when they are dealing with so many other things. So what if we begin a literacy program for expectant families, and when they're not so overwhelmed, they begin to understand the importance and they can practice the singing and thinking about lullabies and different things they can even start talking to their baby when they're in the womb, just still pregnant, and begin to lay some of the understandings about the importance of this daily. So when the babies are born, they have that already kind of part of their practice and they can be more likely to implement. So Hatchlings was born out of that idea, and we received funding from the Maryland State Department of Ed to develop the Hatchlings curriculum. And we launched Hatchlings in 2020. And it's a two-part program. The first part is for those expectant families to learn about the importance of singing and talking and engaging with babies even before they're born. And then after, when the babies are born, there's a second part of Hatchlings that allows those newborn families to come together and learn a little bit more. They may be families that participated in Ready to Hatch, which was the expectant program. They might, be returning then as those newborn families in what we called in the nest, or they may be brand new that discovered in the nest after their babies were born. But it's really been a really wonderful program to help families realize how much they can do and the importance of just very simple things of singing and talking and reading to babies can be, and help with that bonding with their babies as well. And just the one other thing about Hatchlings that I'm really passionate about is that it's not just a program happening in the library as part of early literacy programs and story time. It does do that. We make sure that libraries that are offering Hatchlings do offer it as part of their early literacy programs, but it also has been offered in communities with libraries in partnership with community organizations that can help reach those families who are either expecting or newborn that maybe haven't found the library. We know there's a lot of younger families may not have gravitated to the library yet or been library users in their past, and some of them are the ones who especially need the messages about the importance of early literacy and the confidence that they can do this themselves, and work and read and provide all this to their babies. So I love that we have been able to work with Judy centers in Maryland, been able to work with hospitals and health departments and different connectors to find those families that we really want to make sure can be a part of the messages of the Hatchlings program.
Yeah, and I've spoken with some people that have participated in Hatchlings, some of the facilitators at the libraries and at the Judy centers. And one of the things that jumped out to me and to them was kind of an unexpected benefit was a lot of these families, after the session was over, they'd be hanging around, they were exchanging phone numbers. So it kind of helped build a sense of community within these libraries that they might not otherwise have had. So I kudos to you for this program and to everybody who's participated in it.
We've been so excited to see that. That was definitely an outcome. We thought that the community partners would appreciate the connection with the libraries, and the libraries staff would expect the connection with the partners, and the staff enjoyed working with the families. But to see the families have this kind of community build within themselves, and like you said, they stay afterward and they look forward to seeing each other the next week for the next hatchling sessions, has been just so heartwarming, and we'd love to see that.
So what's next for the program?
Well, through the funding that we received from MSDE, we were able to involve 11 library systems and county community partners the last 3 years in offering Hatchlings. We are actually waiting right now to see if we will receive some additional funding nationally to enhance the Hatchlings program to be more culturally responsive. We're always thinking about ways that we can, look at the songs that we include or the language that we use and make sure that all communities are welcome and feeling um, that the content is appropriate for them and their culture. So if this grant funding comes through, we'll be kind of looking at the curriculum and the language and making sure it's culturally responsive. And then we'll be able to offer the updated program to additional Maryland counties and community partners and beyond. So while we wait, though, there's still some libraries this fall. They're offering hatchlings and planning to keep offering the current hatchlings program. So we're crossing our fingers that we'll be able to kind of keep updating and looking at the content and making sure it's responsive for all families in our communities.
Very good. And I know one of the other responsibilities that you've taken on is you work a lot with service members, military families, military connected youth. Can you talk about some of the partnerships that MSLA has formed, whether it was with the Department of Veterans and Military Families, Department of Health, and some of the programs and initiatives that you all have worked together on?
Absolutely. I am really thrilled that we've been able to work with wonderful state agencies and other organizations to support Maryland youth and families through some of these other state agencies and groups. For many years, we've had a partnership with the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs, which has just recently had an agency name change to the Maryland Department of Veterans and Military Families to support library services with active service members, veterans, families, because they're all in our communities, and libraries are a great way to reach them and find them in our communities. So we've been able to bring together some liaisons from all of our library systems to meet with staff from the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs and Military Families and help give them resources and services as they connect with that community. It's been really nice. The Maryland Department of Health has actually been a part of that work as well through the Maryland Commitment to Veterans. And that's just been really, really nice to see. Other groups that we've worked with that's helped us reach families, the Maryland STEM Festival and its founder, Phil Rogofsky. Libraries have been a key state partner in the Maryland STEM Festival in providing family-friendly STEM programs for all ages. And Arts for Learning is another organization here in Maryland that has reached out and wanted to partner with public libraries because it's a natural place to offer enriching programs and for learning and creativity for young children. So there's so much potential in who all is out there and bringing in their goals, and oftentimes they align with those in public libraries for youth and families.
Very good. That's all great stuff. We're running a little low on time here, so I'm going to start to wrap up. But just in closing, how can libraries and librarians best serve young readers and their families? And second part of that question is, do you have any tips for librarians who might want to expand their youth services offerings?
I just think it's important to remember that youth service staff earnestly try to get to know their families who come into the library, to learn their needs and interests so that they can better serve them. They often ask for families' feedback as they're planning programs and thinking about materials that they need and collections. And it's also, I know, high priority for youth service staff to get out of the library to meet families out in the community through mobile services, again, to find out what they can learn from them and how to best serve them. So I would encourage the library staff to find all those different ways to get to know their families, work with community partners, because community partners can also lead you to families that maybe, like I've said, haven't quite discovered the library, but we know that there are resource services that the library can provide that it would be of a great benefit to them. So just really get to know who's in your community, who those partners are who can work with you to meet those needs. And then also think not only how that organization can support things that we want to do for our customers, but how we can support them and who they serve. So it's a true partnership.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the day by day calendar. Do you want to touch on that before we sign off?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. The Maryland has this Billy Literacy calendar, which is a forever calendar or a perpetual calendar, meaning that it's not for a set year. The daily activities that are listed for each month of the year has no assigned number. You could kind of put a pencil number in there if you wanted to, but they're just it's an early literacy calendar with a theme for each month. July is music. August is imagination, September is letters. That just helps families with young children have some really simple, easy activities that they could engage in, or caregivers. It can be used in like childcare settings to have little daily activities to enjoy. And some is reading, some is singing, some has to do with counting and math, some has some cooking, some nature. So it's a real variety of activities for families to enjoy. We're actually in the middle of creating a Spanish version of our calendar this summer, and a printing will happen later this summer, early fall of the Spanish version. But the English version is available also on our MarylandLibraries.org website. So it's just been a great project to help, again, families have things to do with their children to get them off on a good start and ready for school.
That's all fantastic. Thank you, Carrie. And we'll be sure to share some of these resources on MSLA social media accounts. So look for us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And thank you very much, Carrie, for being with me today. I appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do for Maryland Libraries.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
This has been a presentation of the Maryland State Library Agency. For links to additional resources provided by today's presenter, please visit the show notes. For more information on MSLA or the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled, visit marylandlibraries.org.